on the amount that energy companies can charge per unit of gas and electricity. That means your typical household will see their bills go up by £85 a year to £1,823. Now, yours could be higher than that, it could be lower than that. It depends on whether you use more or less energy than the average household. And we were expecting the cap to rise, but our expectations for how far it's going to rise have risen over the past few months. It's been a cold winter in Europe. It's been a still winter as well. It meant that a lot of European countries couldn't rely on wind power, and they've had to draw down their gas reserves more than expected, which led to an increase in wholesale gas prices. But as you may have seen from the screen by Ed Conway a couple of minutes ago, wholesale gas prices have also been falling in the past couple of weeks on the back of kind of expectations that there might be a deal between Russia and Ukraine. So there could be a dip in the price cap come the summer. But nevertheless, energy prices still higher, energy bills still higher than they were before the war in Ukraine. This is a government, as Mario will tell us shortly, that promised to get our bills down, and yet bills are still elevated. Higher energy costs also feed into general inflation as well, whether that's keeping ovens on in restaurants or whether that's powering our factories. And we know that inflation is also due to rise over the course of the year. So all very awkward. The government will say, you know, we're planning to invest in green, sustainable energy, but all of that takes time, it takes money, it takes reforms, and it will be a while before any of that pays dividends.
And so, as we can see on the screen there, 6.4% in percentage terms, £111 was the average increase per household per year. Mari, we knew this was coming. The Ofgem thing is actually formulaic rather than coming out of the blue, and the date was set in time. But it's never a nice headline. Even though offset by good wage growth recently and less bad GDP data, but this headline hits everyone and hits everyone in their pocket.
It does, and I think the difficulty is, as Gurpreet was outlining, during the election campaign, it was all about being a green energy superpower to reduce people's bills. Now, we knew that was a long-term project, but nonetheless, people voted for lower bills. And so the difficulty will be the price cap going up simultaneously with the government acknowledging that household bills are actually going to rise in the short term in order to get to the point of a green energy superpower where we can get our bills down. So short-term pain, long-term gain, which sounds great, but people have to live through it.
Yeah, and long-term gain is still to be seen as well. I mean, that's up in the air. Gurpreet, again, just contextualise this number: 6.4%. Wage growth recently was sort of 5-ish, 6-ish%. So again, it's quite a big increase compared to the last couple, but it's way smaller than the ones we saw 2022, 2023. And again, it's somewhat out of the government's control in the short term.
Yeah, and this is something that, you know, the government will probably mention today if we hear from them, is that it just kind of underscores how vulnerable we still are to European energy markets and the volatility that exists with them, and underscores the need, they will say, to transition to green, sustainable energy at home so that we don't have to kind of move with the winds of the energy markets in Europe. That being said, wholesale energy prices...
Not quite the right phrase.
Not quite the phrase. The winds aren't moving, that's the problem. One day they'll move again. But wholesale energy prices recently have been coming down, as we saw on the programme earlier, because of kind of the geopolitics of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. That means that there's going to be a dip, hopefully, in energy bills come the summer. But who knows what might happen in the coming months and in the coming years. We're expecting, actually, for the price cap to rise again in October. So, again, I think all of this underscoring the need for sustainable energy independence.